Well, hello everyone. Welcome to week 3 of Formula G Season 3. We are in the great old United States, and boy, it'll be an interesting challenge for sure, Calamity, in this country that's bigger than all of Europe.
Yeah, interesting is a good way to call it. With the US being, as you said, as big as it is, you can never really know if one single seed is going to be good or not, or fun or, well, not. Um, in general, I don't even think you can really say whether the US as a whole is easy or not in any
Mhm.
particular seed. Really depends. You can get 5 city locations, you can get 5 locations in the middle of nowhere with no information. And well, I hope we're leaning more closely towards the first today. Or well, another thing is I probably wouldn't mind with 5 locations out in the middle of nowhere either. It's always just if you've got 4 locations in cities and then the fifth is out in the middle of nowhere, then it kind of decides the whole seed.
Yeah.
So that's not really what you usually want to see.
Yeah, there is a big difference between rural America and urban America in terms of signs and just kind of the information you're going to find anywhere. Um, to really help you out, definitely phone numbers. And there's that trick of trying to understand blurred out license plates that a lot of the American GeoGuessr players try to learn. Colors and general outlines and shapes that you might be able to make out. So we'll see if any of that comes into play here in our series today. We've got 5 great drivers for you today. Our lineup is round 1, Pluki; 2, U, Calamity; 3, M the Baseman; 4, Lunacy; and 5, Pisa Nico. Uh, so yeah, interesting. We've only really got one American in Lunacy, who might have a home field advantage, but a lot of Europeans. We'll see how they do in this
Yeah,
matchup.
there's quite a few Americans in Formula G this season, so difficult times for all of the Europeans to get into the points here, but yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Let's just start then with round number 1 and Pluki. Recording as always in 4x3.
Mm.
And we
Now
start
looking
off
at the
by
license
Dunkin'
plates.
Donuts. There we
Yeah.
go. And if you didn't know, Dunkin' Donuts is almost entirely located on the eastern half of the country, at least east of the Mississippi. So
Okay.
it is in other places, but it's very rare. So to me, seeing a Dunkin' Donuts just screams East Coast.
Now we'll see if you're right in this case.
Yeah. And an 845 area code should also help if Pluki has learned anything about his area codes.
Well, learning area codes of all of the US is a tall task, though. There's hundreds of them. Um, Probably a good idea to just start with a few if you're actually going to. Then just, learn one at a time and don't try to learn all of them at once.
Yeah, the zip codes are pretty well organized, but I'm not really sure that area codes are
Not
in
really.
terms. Yeah, you can't be like, oh, it starts with an 8, so then it's going to be over here somewhere. Doesn't
Nope.
really work like that. But he does have a nice little town entrance sign, but it's probably pretty small, not something you can find on a map too easily.
It's basically said, in the town of Chelsea, and below it said, I think Wappinger or Wappington or something like that, NY, so New York.
Mm-hmm.
And within New York, you might have a chance of finding it if you've got, 3 minutes.
Oh, sudden season change. Oh, and we're back for that. Yeah, there
Ultra premium fuel.
you go. So a few points of interest he might be able to spot, but the big thing he's looking for is some kind of road number to help him out. That's always the best thing to find. And another Houstonville, town of
Hmm.
Wappinger, New York.
Yep. So essentially, Wappinger is probably just going to be the bigger thing that's around here,
Mm,
which contains the small towns of Chelsea and Houstonville.
yeah, there we go. Dutchess County Road number 28. So there's a road number for you, but probably not what he was
Yeah.
hoping for.
If you know exactly where Dutchess County is, it might help you.
Yeah.
Counties fall into, I think, a pretty similar vein as, area codes, where you're probably not going to learn all of them at once.
Yeah, definitely. You can go state by state, but it'll take you a long time with 50 states and all the counties.
Yeah, he's found a sign towards New Hamburg on a green sign, so that might be a bigger town. It might not be.
Mhm. And those round and some no, it'll be the square numbers he's looking for. The rounds, I believe, are state.
Yep, the rounds are states, the square numbers are county roads, but the county roads are of no use to you unless you know where you are,
Yeah, because the numbers
because,
are going to be
well,
wrong. Yeah.
yeah, there's going to be a county road 28, and I assume most counties in New York, and there's going to be a few of those.
Mm-hmm. So he's just scouring now with about 20 seconds left, looking for anything that might look familiar.
Hmm.
But it's kind of ruled out kind of greater New York, and it's going to focus more. Oh, there's Whoppering Falls. That's a pretty good tip.
Yep, but
And
no
sure
time
enough,
anymore.
it'll save him a little bit of embarrassment of being in the right state but on the wrong side of it, and that'll get him 4,966 points. So that's something to speak for, using every second you've got to look at that map, Calamity. He found it with only a few seconds left, and
Yep.
not no ace, but still a pretty good find.
Yeah, for sure. I personally, I started looking for Wappinger as soon as I found that entrance sign to Chelsea. Either or, really. I wouldn't have minded finding Wappinger or Chelsea.
Mm.
And that gave me enough time to just kind of look through the whole state of New York and eventually find it.
Yeah, once you know the state, I guess their states in themselves aren't too big in the sense that you can kind of skim through them relatively quickly, especially with 4 minutes. Our fast searchers can find that out.
Yeah, and
Uh,
especially with the fact that you had, Wappinger as at least one sort of hierarchical structure
mm,
bigger than Chelsea, you could probably assume that it's not like you don't have to zoom in super far to
mhm,
see
mhm.
it. That gives you an even better chance of finding it.
Exactly. Well, how did everybody else do on this round?
Most people found the right area at least. Only Lunacy and me managed to pinpoint correctly, but we've got M the Basement and Pisanico and Wappingers Falls as well.
Mhm. Nice. We'll get into round number 2 then with you, Calamity, and we'll see how it will treat you. And a very different scene for sure.
Yep. Not New York.
Definitely not New York. Lots of evergreens. We are high in the mountains, and you have to place a bet. There's that massive mountain range in the west, the Rocky Mountains. So we're
Never heard of
somewhere
it.
in there. But other than that, that's all I got.
Yeah. Also not the easiest to tell on the map where exactly the Rocky Mountains are. I mean, you can kind of tell, okay, here's a mountain range, but
Mm,
where exactly does it extend to and stuff like that.
yeah.
And it's not the most mountainous area if you look around. Like it's a bit hilly, but you can't really see any big mountains.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell you're in the big mountains when you're in them because you don't really get to see them. But the geography and whatnot, he'll set a marker and head back the other way around. And ooh, I saw some stuff over there on the right.
Did you?
And
I didn't.
um, there was looks like hot springs, which are very rare and would put us around Yellowstone, that Montana, Idaho, Wyoming corner, which is pretty much where all the mountain hot springs I know exist.
Is Yellowstone part of the Rocky Mountains?
Yes, it is sort of on the edge, perhaps, but if not completely inside um,
Okay.
of the mountains. Yeah. And we have seen a few brown signs, so that would again hint at a national park.
Hmm. kind of a touristy thing, isn't it? Those brown signs.
Yeah, it's the I don't know it is the milieu or the kind of aesthetic of American National Park Service is to use
Mm.
those brown, white, and sometimes yellow font signs.
Now you all can experience what I have to deal with in terms of moving.
Yeah. Yeah, the recent changes to Google Maps hasn't made it the most enjoyable to travel around, but as someone who has lived in this area of the country, it is interesting to see things on the side as we hit. Yeah, see the steam geysers over there on the right would immediately make me think of Yellowstone. But we'll see if you can actually figure that out.
Mm.
There we go, a parking lot. That might prove somewhat useful. You do give it a bit of a
Nope,
spin, but nope. Maybe this
nothing there.
entrance will. Nope.
Also nothing there.
Nothing there. So just
There's no information whatsoever here in terms of,
mm.
towns or road numbers or anything like that.
Yeah, if you're actually in the park, there's not going to be a whole lot of signage other than the fact that you will know you're in the park from some of the surroundings. If you're familiar with it, that is. But I don't know. Is Yellowstone well known throughout Europe?
I mean, the name for sure.
Okay.
And, I with 20 seconds left, I saw something that said Geyser, so I was like,
Mm.
yeah, sure. Let's guess Yellowstone.
Yeah,
Let's
that's.
find Yellowstone first, but
Oh, there it is.
yep.
Yeah. Oh, and a last second click will put you pretty doggone close. 4,727. Yeah, so a bit of a tricky round to pinpoint, but plenty of clues that you're in a national park, and given some of the other geographic evidence, would pretty much single yourself out into Yellowstone. But other than that, a pretty tricky round, Calamity.
Yeah, and to go back to your previous question, I'd say like people know of Yellowstone
Mm.
in the sense that, if you said, I don't know, probably if you asked people name a national park in the US, then if you're going to get any answers, they're probably going to be Yellowstone
Mm.
first. Um, but probably not to the point where people would know how exactly it looks like if you exclude like a few of the geyser places and stuff like that.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, uh, kind of no information there whatsoever in terms of like, as I said, road numbers or anything that could help you, even give you a general area if you don't know, uh, Yellowstone.
Mm.
Um, and that reflects in the scores as well. Quite a few relatively low scores here. I had the second highest score out of the five Bravas we've had here, with Lunacy beating me out by about 70 points,
Mm.
and then Pluky getting 3,000, with a guess in Nez Perce Clearwater National Forest.
Mm.
And Pisa Nico and M the Basement pretty much going for the exact same place, almost about 20 kilometers apart or so, in sort of southern Washington in the middle of nowhere.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, exactly. If you didn't travel in a direction and see any signs, all you had to go off was the geography. And if you don't know the geography, well, then not a whole lot to work with, unfortunately, for that. But I'm pretty sure none of them will forget that round anytime in the future. Oh, it's a famous site. I have to remember what that looks like for that one. We'll jump into round number 3 then with Mr. M the Basement and see how he can recover after that one. And this looks like a whole nother part of the country. So 3
Yep.
rounds, 3 very different areas. Well, there we
Not a
go.
national
Austin
park
Roofing.
anymore. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Austin, Texas. There we go. I don't know if he saw that, but I did. So we are
Quite
in.
clearly not downtown Austin, Texas, though.
Yeah, obviously not in the city itself, but obviously on State Highway 71. There we go. And Texas, that'll help him out. Texas is one of those nice states that puts its name on its sign. So, and he does seem to
Mm.
remember that we are somewhere near Austin, so that's good. Now, only about a minute into the round, he's looking to start pinpointing this one, Calamity.
Yeah, the 71 does continue for quite a while though, and it has a pretty similar directionality throughout most of its length as well. So you can't really narrow it down too much from that. So you'd really hope for a bit more information that he could look for.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple buildings. He's looking for a point of interest along it. And the
I
road
think there
sort of.
was, yeah, I think there was some sort of sign that told him pretty early on that the RO road is off to some sort of direction.
Mm, he's got that
Yeah,
lined
look.
up.
Yeah.
Make his way finally to the intersection, which is probably the best thing to look for. And Bob Wire Road. Now he's going to search for that. Where could it be? So he is checking some of these outliers. Oh, there we go. That pops up quite nicely on the map. Slightly
Maybe it's,
northeast
yeah,
from that.
definitely slightly lucky as well that he pretty much started looking in the exact right place.
Yeah, definitely his advantage. So he'll be looking with still a minute and a half to go. Definitely looking to ace this one, and that sure does look like a fire station across the road.
Mm.
And yeah, you can see those fire trucks. Oh, station 802. There we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
So he'll line himself up with that. Drop the guess 4 meters, and he'll go fast, but that was an ace for him. Very nicely done from M the Baseman there. So after the first 2 rounds, a nice bit of relief halfway through our game. Nice, easy state road with everything labeled for our drivers.
Well, there wasn't actually that much. I'm just currently in the process of quickly looking up how long the Road 71 actually is.
Mm.
And it's about 270 miles long. So for him to start looking in the pretty much exact like 2 mile stretch or so that he was actually on is incredibly lucky.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, sometimes you get lucky. Um, Other people not getting as lucky, of course.
Mm.
Um, I took a very long time to find anything useful other than, just I saw a sign that said, "Hey, Austin," pretty early on as well, but beyond that, nothing really too useful. And I ended up just 2.6 kilometers away. I looked through most of the 71 to narrow it down to that general area and, that general road direction, just, one curve too far to the north.
Mm.
He's a Nico a bit further away alongside Lunacy, both around Columbus and like about 100 kilometers east of Austin. And Pluky was a bit closer on the right side of Austin, but uh, just around B Cave, where M the Basement first had his marker down, I think.
Very nice. Well, let's jump then to round number 4 with our local hero, hopefully. In round number 4 with Lunacy. He's been doing quite well for himself after the first couple rounds. Let's see what round 4 has in store for him as we get into this one. And it appears we got a county again, but that's not going to be too helpful. A road with a name not too far from the starting location will be, again, good for pinpointing if he can find the right area.
Mm.
Lunacy is one of those drivers who does record commentary as he plays. So if you want to check out his perspective, what he has to say as he plays through his round, check out his video on his YouTube channel. You can listen to him instead of us for a change.
Yeah, not a lot of information available at the moment. Just, rural USA.
Yeah. I think he got a glimpse of a license plate, but
Yep.
Not too helpful as the Google
It
car
looked
gets passed by everybody.
it looked very distinct, the license plate.
Yeah, it was probably a special license plate, not the standard state issued one. We are on
Mm.
Montgomery, which would, if you got nothing else to go on, guess Alabama. But
That sounds like very flimsy evidence of where you are.
yeah,
The street name being the same as the city in the state.
yeah, I was pretty much gonna say, like, if that's all you've got, you might as well. Oh, there's a
Yeah.
fire department, so another local town. He's really looking for a major junction that'll give him some numbers, and he went right past one. He won't
I
quite.
wouldn't call it major.
331. There
Oh,
we go. South
oh
300,
yeah.
and it is a national highway. So he is looking in Alabama. There we go. And he has
Mm.
not in a city, but again, a very long road. So he's got to try to figure out where he might be.
Yep.
And he's got a minute and 30 seconds to go. So he knows we're not in a town. So he's got to try to figure out where there might be.
I'm curious on what he's looking for exactly at the moment.
Yeah,
'Cause it seems like he's looking for a specific name of the road.
kind of.
Um,
Yeah, I guess he's looking for a junction in the middle of kind of nowhere. He isn't really paying too much attention to the directionality of the road. This is a very north-south stretch of the road. And don't tell me
yeah,
he's going to walk all the way back.
he did have the county sign for County Road 50 there as well, which in this case is
Ah,
actually a pretty good indication of where you are,
yeah, maybe
because
that's what
now
he is looking for.
the 331 is still sort of a bit on the longer side, but way shorter than the 71 earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So you can probably just look along the road and see if you can just find a County Road 50 somewhere.
Yeah.
There's still, a small possibility that you'd find two, but seems better than what he's trying at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's somewhere in this stretch is not a bad guess. I mean, it's the more north-south kind of part of the whole thing, and just slightly south of Montgomery. But I think he's kind of hoping that his zooming will into random places, and it will pay
Yep.
off as I say that. He finally manages to figure it out, but pretty much by the process of elimination, Calamity checking as many intersections as he possibly can in about 2 minutes, and it pays off with 2 seconds left to go.
Yeah, people getting very lucky today, it seems.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you need a little bit to go your way, as a local hero, I guess. Definitely not uh, doing too bad for an American in his home country. How did everybody else do in that round?
Basement 5K did as well. Pluki just 200 and something meters off. Probably just ran out of time at the end and probably found it very similarly to Lunacy in the last second. And other than Lunacy, just couldn't quite get his point in the right place. I was about 3 kilometers off to the north. South. Sorry, I did find the County Road 50, but with my
Mm-hmm.
speeds, the amount of time it took me to arrive at that intersection pretty much meant I had no time left to pinpoint. And then we had Pisa Nico losing about 240 points, just going up quite a bit further north, much closer to Montgomery.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. We got one final round, and Pizzanico is the one who's up, and we'll see how he can do as we jump into this one. And lovely fall weather again, just like round number one, but
Mm,
very different kind of climate. This is the rural America everybody loves, or not so much. And the fog makes it a little bit interesting as well. It doesn't really obscure anything, but it
yeah,
does.
it just obscures the the view into the distance.
Mm-hmm. So we are in livestock country. There we go. Like some kind of road number. Number 81 and lions. But that's not going to give away too much.
No, absolutely not.
No. And this is one of those things where kind of flat cattle country could be in like over a dozen different Western
Yeah,
states. So
exactly.
not really
And
going to help you out too much.
it's also the typical rural, like, grid-based system of you can't really tell by how the road looks which direction you're supposed to go because everything just looks the same.
Yeah.
And you might get lucky at the next intersection, or the grid system just might continue.
Well, one thing you can think of is if it is very grid-like, it does point to, there are exceptions naturally, but to the western part of the country, because that kind of was what they were planning out when they kind of headed west, was when they adopted that system. The east part of the country is older and more unorganized, so to speak.
True. But I think just generally the landscape already points you towards the western side of the country anyway.
Yeah, more of a confirmation that you're west of the Mississippi than anything to help you out pick which one of those many states it could be.
Yeah. Any bets on how many seconds he'll have left by the time he finds the right place?
No, we've been going for less than 5 in a couple of rounds. So I think anytime within that would be a good bet. Maybe 3 seconds.
Yeah. Let's see.
Here's an intersection. Let's see what signs we've got.
Vantage Highway.
There we go. There's some
kind looks like a.
Oh, there we go. 2 I-90.
Yep.
He heads to the south. That won't help him out too much, but yeah, I-90. That'll be a big help. That puts us in the most northern part of the west part of the country. Interstates with big numbers start at the top and get smaller as they go to the bottom.
Yep. The I-90 though is still a few hundred kilometers long, even in that area.
If not,
obviously
more
overall, overall probably thousands of kilometers. Just in the area that's even possible based on landscape. Still,
yeah, I guess that is
well
true.
over a few hundred kilometers.
Yeah, we're not in the mountains, and he does not appear to be too familiar with that interstate. But luckily, they show up quite a far way out. There's the 80, 84. There's the 90.
Luckily, we have 4 minutes and not 3 minutes 45.
Okay, somewhere in that area does fit that basin in between the kind of Cascades and the Rocky Mountains is a beautiful farming and cattle country, and that'll earn him a decent number of points. Not a bad guess. All he really had to work on was that the 90 was south of him, 4,247 points, and he had more than 5 seconds, Calamity. He was in the right area with about 10. Now, he didn't get to pinpointing, granted, but, I
feel like if we did have 3 minutes and 45, I think the average score would probably be about 4,000 points lower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, nice. Well, that was our final round. Another bit of a tricky one in rural kind of the U.S. How did everybody else finish up in this game?
No one even really getting close. Lukey, 589 kilometers away, the second closest in that round. Alongside myself in Montana, just 400 kilometers closer within Montana than me, and then M the Baseman himself, sort of central Wyoming, and then Lunacy guessed southern Minnesota.
Yeah, pretty much anybody who was taking this round seriously, as there were a few people who had already kind of decided that round 5 was not going to be the decider for them, spent all their 4 minutes and still had a pretty rough time. A couple Americans, though, able to ace that and find it, given some of the clues in the area. Very nice. Well, how did all of our drivers finish up that we got to see today. I think you had the highest score of everybody
I
overall.
did
Yeah.
actually, yeah, surprisingly, with 21,155 points, getting me seventh place. Pisanico and Pluki just behind in ninth and 10th with about 20.5 and 20.3k. And then Lunacy in his home map only finishing 13th with 19,341 points, really
Mm.
suffering in that last round there. And then M the Basement in 16th with just over 18,000 points.
Yeah, 2 rough rounds for him sees him drop out of the points for that one. But if you want to know how all the drivers did and how what that means for the Formula G standings overall, you can check out the show that's up on the channel, and we'll see you over there. Take care.
Bye.